Hi everyone, so this is the next lesson on factorising expressions, and in our last lesson we looked at algebraic expressions like these three here, and we found factor pairs for these algebraic expressions, and then we used those factor pairs to write identities like what I've got here. So these are just three examples. So with 2x plus 6 I found two factor pairs, 1 and 2x plus 6 and 2 and x plus 3. For 5p take away 20 I also found just two sets of factor pairs. So 1 and 5p take away 20 are a factor pair, and 5 and p take away 4 are a factor pair. And then for this expression I was able to find three sets of factor pairs. 1 and 4h take away 20, 2 and 2h minus 10, and 4 and h minus 5. And today we're going to be looking at our factor pairs and deciding which set of factor pairs for each question. In fact, I'm not going to give the game away. I'm not going to give the game away yet, so I'm going to just stop talking about that and I'll come back to it. But let's just zoom in on these expressions here. So the expressions that I've circled in red, they are called factorised expressions. And factorised expressions are expressions that contain brackets. Now the expressions that I've circled in blue, where they don't have brackets, are called unfactorised expressions. So factorised expressions have brackets and unfactorised expressions do not have brackets. And the process of taking an unfactorised expression, so like the ones in blue, to a factorised expression like the one in red is called factorising. So if you are asked to factorise something, then you are being asked to basically put brackets into it, write it with brackets, okay? And we have practiced that a lot. We were able to do this for many different types of expressions last lesson. Now, here I've got an algebraic expression, 4h take away 20, and I've found some factor pairs for this expression. In fact, I found all of the factor pairs. So 1 and 4h minus 20 is a factor pair. 2 and 2h take away 10 are a factor pair. And 4 and h take away 5 are a factor pair as well. So I found all of the factor pairs, and I'm sure you'd be able to do this too. Now, 4h take away 20, as it is right there, is an unfactorised expression. There are no brackets in that expression. It's unfactorised. Now, the later expressions that have brackets in them, they're exactly the same as 4 take away 20, but they are factorised. They have brackets in them. So 1, 4h take away 20 in brackets is factorised. 2, 2h take away 10 is factorised. And then the last one, 4h take away 5, is factorised, but this we would call, or we would say, is fully factorised. Let's look at another example. So I've got 18h take away 12i, and there are many factorised expressions we can write for this expression. So I can have 1 and 18h take away 12i, 2 and 9h take away 6i, 3 and 6h take away 4i, and then 6 and 3h take away 12i. Now the original expression is unfactorised, there are no brackets in it. And all of these expressions are factorised, but the last one we would say is fully factorised. So you might be thinking to yourself, how do I know if something's just factorised or fully factorised? Well, that's what we're going to be working on today, is recognising that. This is appearing in the wrong order, isn't it? With the next expression that's going to come up, 9h plus 21, I've got one just factorised expression, and then my fully factorised expression is 3 bracket 3h plus 7. So I'm going to answer the question now, how do we know if something is fully factorised? Well, you'll notice that the very last factorised expression of all of these three is the fully factorised expression. And the fully factorised expression is the one where it has the greatest, the largest factor outside of the bracket. So if we look at the first example, 4h take away 20, I could put 1 outside the bracket, I could have 2 outside the bracket, but when I have the greatest number 4 outside the bracket, that's when it's fully factorised. For this one, 1 outside the bracket, fine. 2 outside the bracket, also fine, it's mathematically correct. 3 outside the bracket, fine as well. But when we take the greatest number outside the bracket, 6, that's when it's fully factorised. So you're going to have a go at some practice questions. I've got an unfactorised expression here, 12 take away 4pq. And for this expression, there are 2 factorised expressions and 1 fully factorised expression. So pause the video now and see if you can find all 3. Okay, so you should have for the first factorised expression 1 bracket 12 take away 4pq. For the next factorised expression, we can take a 2 outside the bracket to have 2 bracket 6 take away 2pq. But the fully factorised expression is when we take out the largest possible number, 4, and have 4 bracket 3 minus pq. So give yourselves ticks if you got that, and if you didn't, just write it in your different colour pen. Next, here's an unfactorised expression, 36 plus 24k. And this one has 5 factorised expressions and then the fully factorised expression. So see if you can find all of those now. Okay, so get your different colour pen, get ready to mark. Here's our first factorised expression where we take a factor of 1 out. We can take a factor of 2 out. We can take a factor of 3 out. We can take a factor of 4 out. We can take a factor of 6 out. But the fully factorised expression is when we take out the largest possible factor, 12, to get 12 bracket 3 plus 2k. There's one more example to go, or one more practice question to go, should I say. So here's the unfactorised expression, 7 take away 14g squared. So pause the video now and see if you can get the factorised expression and the fully factorised expression. Okay, with your different colour, we can mark our factorised expression where we just have a factor of 1, and then the fully factorised expressions where we take out the greatest possible value, 7. So 7 times 1 take away 2g squared is the fully factorised expression. Okay, so here's a question for you to pause the video and think about in a second. I'll read it to you first though. Fran tries to fully factorise the expression 15y plus 30. Max says the answer is 3 bracket 5y plus 10. And Tim says the answer is 5 bracket 3y plus 6. Fran thinks they're both wrong. Why? So pause the video now and just have a think about this. You can write it down if you want to, but you can just think about it if you want to. Okay, well, they're both wrong because the fully factorised expression would mean we would have to take out the largest possible value. Now, Max has certainly not taken out the largest possible value. He's only taken out a factor of 3. Tim, he only took out a factor of 5. But it is possible to take out a factor of 15 here and have 15 bracket y plus 2. So they're both wrong because the fully factorised expression is 15 bracket y plus 2, where we take out the largest possible factor. Here's another little question for you to have a go at. So I want you to decide for each of these 5 questions, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, have I given the fully factorised expression each time? Pause the video now and you can just maybe write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just put yes or no or tick across. So pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so we're going to mark these. So for this first one, I have given the fully factorised expression because 3 is the greatest number I can take out of 15 and negative 6. So 3 is the greatest possible number. The next one is also fully factorised because the greatest factor of 2p and 2q is 2. And I have 2 outside the bracket here. The next one is not fully factorised because I've taken out a factor of 4. But if we think about 40 and 24, or 40e and 24f, there's a greater number I could take out of those two terms. You might already know what that is, but we're going to go on to the next question, and the next one is not fully factorised either, because I've taken out a factor of 2 from 10 and 20r squared. But there is a greater factor that we can take out of 10 and 20. You might know what that is. And this last one is fully factorised because the greatest factor of 16, 8v and 2u is 2. There is no greater number we could have taken out from all of those terms. So here's some practice questions. You want to please can you fully factorise the expressions below? So you don't need to give, let me go back. You don't need to give the factorised and the fully factorised. For these questions, we just want the fully factorised expression. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at these. Okay, so get a different colour pen and make sure you are marking your work. Anything you get correct, you can tick, and anything you get wrong, just write it in your different colour next to your work. So the first one, our fully factorised expression is 6 bracket 4x plus 1 because 6 is the greatest number we can take out of both terms. Next we have 10 bracket 3 plus m because 10 is the greatest factor we can take out of both of these terms. Next is 4 bracket b squared take away 5 because 4 is the greatest factor we can take out of both terms. The next is 4 bracket 2b squared take away 5 because 4 is the greatest factor or the highest factor of 8b squared and 20 or negative 20. Next we have 8 bracket b squared take away 25. We can take out a factor of 8 from both of these terms. Next is 8 bracket bc minus 25. Again, 8 was the greatest factor we could take out of both terms. And the next one, a slightly longer one, we should have 3 bracket 15 plus s plus 5t because 3 is the greatest factor we can take out of all 3 terms there. So here are 26 questions for you to have a go at. You're just giving the fully factorised expression for each one, and I'm going to stop talking in a second, but on the next few slides will be the answers. So pause the video, have a go at all of the questions, and then I will just reveal the answers silently at the end of this video.